Hi, welcome back to ODE YouTube channel. Today we are here for another very long video. Today I'm showing you the pens for January 2022. This is coming a little late again. Last month it came out in the last day of December. Now it's not that bad, but still the ideal thing was to make this video in the beginning of the month, but I couldn't do it. So let's start. I have to say this will be long because we have again lots of pens. We have 60 pens. Last month we had 67, so it was a little worse. There were many that ran out of ink and some were inked in between. Some were even re-inked with the same ink, so I think many of them are almost out of ink, so there is the possibility of some of these pens to fail during this video, but that's how things are. Some are almost empty, fortunately, because I still have lots of pens with ink because of the Diamine Inkvent calendar that I showed you reviews of every day of since the 1st December till the 25th. So let's start our video. Today, again, like last month, I will do it in alphabetical order of the name of the brand. It's not my favorite way to do it, but it is the easiest, and I'm recording this. I'm not sure if I'll be able to post this video today when I want to post Friday night, or if it'll have to be Saturday. I don't know if I have the time to do it all and edit and so on. So let's start, because this will be long. I'll try to be a little faster than usual. So let's start with letter A, and letter A, it's A for Italy. And in Italy we have the Aurora. This pen is an amazing pen that I really like. This is the Aurora the Aurora 88 Nikargenta. Nikargenta is kind of metal of the cap. This is a beautiful pen which has inspiration in the Parker 51, but to me, you have the Aurora 88 there, but to me it is a more interesting pen than the 51. It is a piston filler though, and I would prefer the aromatic filling system of the 51, but I think this pen is really well made. I love this vintage pen. It is one of my favorite vintage pens. So this is the Aurora 88 Nikargenta with a fine gold nib, and inside it has the Diamine, which is in most of the pens I'm showing you today, Inkvent calendar 2021, number 19, Festive Joy. And I think this pen is running low on ink, so you can see no real line variation. It is a fine nib. It is a very nice pen. The next pen is another Aurora, and this one is a beautiful. It picks every little bit of dust from my burlap background. This is the beautiful Aurora Duocard in yellow. This one is a modern pen, obviously inspired in that one, not directly, but in an evolution from that one, the old Duocard. So let's see. This is the Aurora Duocard in yellow. This is a modern pen with a medium nib. It is available only with medium nib, medium steel nib, so very similar with the other one that I showed you just before, but it doesn't have the Aurora engraved there. And instead of piston filler, it is a cartridge or converter pen that takes Aurora proprietary cartridges or Parker or Lamy. And inside it has Parker, Quink, black. And this is an ink that I really love. And this pen is very simple. There is no line variation, the nib is very stiff. It's just a very good pen to write. It is very wet, the medium nib is on the finer side. I think this pen is really a great pen. It's very comfortable. I really like to write with this pen a lot. Or I like this pen to write a lot with it. The other one, the next one, is letter B, and letter B means Russia today. And from Russia we have this beautiful pen that I just reviewed a few days ago. This is the Benu Ambrosia, which has this flower on the cap band and all these Benu glitter, which is kind of amazing. It's their own stuff. I will put this pen for a giveaway when I reach 4,500 followers. And this one has a Schmidt nib. So, number 5 Schmidt nib. This is the Benu Ambrosia Brown Orchid with, I can't follow the lines, with a medium steel nib, and the ink inside is Leonardo Officina Italiana purple. And for this ink, for this pen, you will see there is a little bounce which can show little line variation, but not much. It's not a flexible nib or anything, but it's really a pleasant ink to use. And I need to do something to my chair because I'm hitting the leg of the tripod and this is moving a little bit. I think we are better now, sorry about that. The next pen, also from Benu, also from Russia, is this interesting pen. It's not as spectacular as this, as you may see. It is brown, but it is my favorite Benu so far. This is not a giveaway, no way. This is the Benu Euphoria, and the color scheme is called Caviar. The nib is a medium Schmidt nib, but a bigger one than the previous Benu, and inside it has the Diamine Inkvent calendar from 2021, color number 9, Tempest. And this nib also has a little bounce, so you can have a little line variation, and it is very wet, and that's good if we want to show the shimmering of the ink, but I don't think I have the lighting in the proper way to show you the shimmering, so let's forget about it. This is shimmering ink. I have the review of the ink, you can see it. Now it's just to show off the pens, and this pen is really a great one. I like this pen a lot. And sorry, I have boxes and boxes with pens here, 60 pens, so lots of boxes. The other one is C from the United States of America, and this C is for cross with this interesting fine nib. So this is the cross Townsend Medalist with a fine steel nib and Diamine Inkvent calendar 2021 number 10 Peach Punch. It is an interesting, fun pastel-like color. It is interesting. The nib is nice. It has some bounce to it. Not really a flexi nib, but it is an interesting pen, but fingerprint magnet if you don't like this kind of stuff. I have my nails and my fingers a little dirty. I've been cleaning pens and stuff, and also the coffee machine, so lots of that brown coffee gets under the nails, so sorry about that. The next pen is with a letter D, and D for Germany. This is Diplomat. This is a vintage or an older Diplomat with this nib and that cross, which shows it says Diplomat. So this is the Diplomat Pop 505 Lilac with a fine, very fine indeed, nib, and ink it has inside is diamine Inkvent Calendar 2021 number 5 Harmony. And this is quite a stiff nib and very fine. It's not very wet, but it has a very beautiful, interesting color. The next letter is F from Germany. Faber-Castell. This is Faber-Castell Writink or Writink. Writing. I'm not sure. It has this kind of fingerprint made in rubber, in a rubberized material in the barrel, and it has this shape and this black nib. So this is the Faber-Castell Writing or whatever, medium, and it has the same ink as the cross, but you can see because they have different wetnesses, you can see different colors. This is the Diamine Inkvent Calendar 2021 number 10 Peach Punch. This nib is much stiffer than the cross nib, but it is nice, smooth, and it behaves very well with a very good ink flow. The next pen is G from Ireland, and yes, it has skulls. I love this pen. This is the Gravitas Steel, and it's called Skull Edition. It has a medium steel nib by Jovo, and it has one wonderful ink inside, the Mont Blanc William Shakespeare, which is an ink that I really enjoy. This nib is very stiff. It is a typical Jovo nib, which means it is stiff, but it writes well and wet. And from G we go to the letter H. H for China, and we have this pen, number 6 nib. So this is the Hongdian 960 in yellow, although it is called orange, I think, in the original selling of the pen, with a fine steel nib, and it has inside Diamine Inkvent Calendar 2021 number 21 Wonderland. This is a nice ink, it shades a little bit, so it's kind of fun. The material of this pen is quite gorgeous. The next pen is from the letter J, is written with the letter J, and J for China also. And you guessed it, it is a Jinhao Centennial in blue. Beautiful material. steel nib. Number 6 from Jinhao. Quite nice. So this is the Jinhao Centennial. This is one very good pen with a medium nib, Centennial blue, with a medium nib, and inside it has also diamine inkvent calendar 2021 number 12 Stargazer. This nib also allows for a little bounce, so it is quite interesting. It is very interesting, this material. The next pen is also a Jinhao, the same model, Jinhao Centennial, in this koi finish, which is very beautiful, red and white, but this one has the similar nib with a different shape because it is a food nib. So this is the Jinhao Centennial Koi with food nib, and inside it has an ink mix. Sometimes I do stuff, so it has stuff inside. This pen allows for some line variation depending on the angle you are holding it. So it is quite interesting. I like to use this pen to write big stuff in paper. Mostly for some brainstorming, it's useful to see big stuff. The next pen is with a K, and K for China. Again, this is a Kaigelu 316 in the beautiful finish called Tiger Eye. Steel nib, also a cartridge converter pen. From all these pens, only the Aurora Duocart is not the Duocart, only the Aurora 88 is not a cartridge converter pen. All the others are. So this is the Kaigelu 316 Tiger Eye with a medium nib, steel nib, and it has diamine inkvent calendar 2021 number 22 black ivy. This is a very wet nib with a very strong but nice feedback. It is, I have to say, this is a very interesting pen, but a little heavy. It has a kangaroo there, kangaroo on the nib, but it is maybe a little heavy because it has some parts made of metal, like this ending and the ending of the cap. The next pen, also a Kaigelu, this is the 316A, which has some differences. These parts are not black and not metal. The pen is much lighter, and the material is just beautiful. It has the same kind of nib, also with a kangaroo, a little different design because this is an F and the other one was an M. So Kaigelu 316A in blue, fine steel nib and diamine inkvent calendar 2021 number 25, all the best. This is a very interesting ink. This is a very interesting pen, nice to use with some line variation, I would say, in this nib. Very wet, writes really well, and also the pen is gorgeous. Look at the cap band. I think this pen is really interesting. And let's go for the last pen on this box I have here. This is another pen starting with a K, but this one is from the United States. And yes, K, I think, is letter which has more pens. Just guess why. So this is the Caras Fountain K, and this one has a broad Bock nib, generic nib, which is quite good, and it has diamine, inkvent calendar for 2021, number 21, party time. This nib is quite stiff, it is a broad nib, not a very wide broad, and it has no line variation. Now let me change the boxes here, and let's go on with letter K, but this time a K for Germany. And I think you guessed it, it is Kaweco time. There. So, this is a nice pink pen. This is the Kaweco AL Sport with, Hello Kitty with a fine steel nib. The ink inside is Divine Design Pink. And yes, a quite fine, stiff Kaweco nib. But the nib, guess what? It is a different Kaweco nib, which has the face of the Hello Kitty there. This is a fun one. Very uncommon. The next one is the, let me get it. These are the pens that, I think this is one of the rarest pens that I'm showing you here today. This and the next one. This is the Kaweco Art Sport. With this beautiful material, and it has a premium nib. So this is the Kaweco Art Sport. This one is the Amber from generation 2 with a medium premium nib, steel nib from Kaweco, and the ink inside is Kaweco Caramel Brown. This is a nice, well-tuned steel nib. These are specially tuned nibs by Kaweco for better performance, closer to gold. But I made a review of these kind of nibs, and for that review I also used this one. This is another Kaweco Art Sport. The color is called Mambo, and this one is from generation 1. Because this is in alphabetical logical order, it's not chronological. And you can see this one has a gold nib, the older style of gold nib. And so this is the Kaweco Art Sport Mambo with a medium gold nib, and I think it's running out of ink. It has inside Kaweco Caramel Brown. This one provides some line variation because it's gold and it is a little softer. In my opinion, this material is gorgeous, but it's just my opinion. I don't know if you share it. The next one is this larger pen. This is the Kaweco Collection. So this is the Kaweco Collection. So it is the special edition. This pen is, the model is special, and red is the color. It has a fine, extra fine steel nib, and it has inside Kaweco? No. Montblanc, William Shakespeare, and it looks a lot lighter because this is a finer nib. I don't know, my lines are going up at the end. So this is an interesting pen made of aluminum, cartridge converter pen, also with these looks. This is a very interesting pen. Next one is a Kaweco Sport again, and this is a Kaweco Collection, which is an AL Sport with a medium steel nib. So this one is called officially Kaweco Collection Vibrant Violet with a medium steel nib, and the ink inside is Kaweco Summer Purple, and also not lots of line variation, and medium nib. Beautiful, beautiful color. The other pen is a pen that is discontinued now. It is a full-sized pen instead of being a pocket pen like the Sport, and it is also a Kaweco, but this one is called Kaweco Elite, and it has a bigger number 6 nib. This is the Kaweco Elite with a fine steel nib, and inside it has Waterman South Sea Blue, and this larger number 6 nib really allows for some line variation, and I really enjoy this. This is a very interesting pen that is discontinued, so if you want to get one, start searching quickly for the stores that may still have it, because it won't be around for long. It has been discontinued for a little now. This is another Kaweco Sport, another model that doesn't exist anymore. This is the Ice Sport, which means it were all transparent, but clear, the barrel was clear, and the transparent section and cap of matching colors. So this one is the Kaweco Ice Sport Pink, which is a very decent name for the name of the ink, with diamine, Inkvent calendar 2021 number 20 pink ice, and this nib is stiff. It is a double broad and really is a nib that this ink really is an ink that reminds us of strawberry ice cream. Now we'll go to the little Lilliput in copper, lots of patina. So this is the Kaweco Lilliput. I'm showing this pen forever. I'm showing, or since ever, because this is always used. This is always inked, and inside it has ink mix, which I don't know what it is. It is just leftovers of ink, and this is a fine nib. And I find these nibs from Kaweco, this may be my impression, I'm not sure if this is real, but it seems, because I've used this pen a lot for a long time, I think now the nib is a little more bouncy, but I don't know if that's possible. Some material fatigue or something, I'm not sure, but that's what I feel. May not be true. This one is the Kaweco Perkeo All Clear. Perkeo is a longer model. This is a version which is all clear, triangular grip, and the same kind of nib. So this is the Kaweco Perkeo with, it's called All Clear. It has a fine steel nib, and it is very feedbacky, much more feedbacky than the previous one. And it has Kaweco Palm Green. This one has a feedback that reminds me the feedback of sailor pen or a pencil writing, so it's quite strange to feel this on the Kaweco. And you can see there is some line variation you may have if you press it a little bit strongly against the paper. The next one, another Kaweco Perkeo, very bold colors, all dirty with ink on that closing system. So this is the Kaweco Perkeo, and this color is called Bad Taste. It has fine steel nib, which looks a little larger than the nib on the other one, and it is a black. Inside it has diamine Inkvent calendar for 2021, number 8, raspberry rose. I think this one has a little line variation. It doesn't seem to have as much line variation as the previous pen, and I think the ink has evaporated a little bit because it's much darker than it used to be. And now let's go for another impressive pen that I reviewed very recently, the very expensive Kaweco Sterling Sport that Kaweco very kindly provided me for review, and this one has a number 5 rhodium plated gold nib. This is a very shiny, beautiful pen, very heavy. So this is the Kaweco Sterling Sport with a fine gold nib, and you can see it has line variation. It has it has Kaweco caramel brown, and you can see with a little pressure you can really have a little line variation. Now let's flip the page and go for the next steel Kaweco. So the next Kaweco is this Kaweco Student, which is kind of a recent edition for 2021 with this kind of ivory white. It has metal section and it has a medium nib. So this is the Kaweco Student 20s Jazz with a medium steel nib and ink inside. Guess what? Kaweco caramel brown. And this nib feels more bouncy, but you don't see line variations, kind of feeling that you have in your hand. The next pen is Kaweco Supra in steel with a bronze clip. I love this pen, big, number 6 nib, and this one, I have to say, it replaced the Kaweco AL Sport Stonewashed Blue as my daily carry pen in my jeans pocket. So this is the Kaweco Supra in steel with a fine steel nib. You can see line variation there. Let me do it lightly now. And it has inside some, and I will press a little harder for you to see. It has inside some unknown green ink. I'm not sure which ink I put inside. At the beginning I thought it was a turquoise ink, but it's not. It has some line variation. It has a bouncy nib. It's not that you can flex really the nib, but it's very nice to have this kind of line variation when you're writing. And now, finally, we left K for Germany and we go into L for Germany, and we have a Lamy pen. This is the Lamy Ideos, which has this drop shape, the clip on the side, nib the same as the iron, section that reminds us of the studio, so it's kind of a mixed pen, and it has an extra fine nib. Also cartridge converter pen, as most of pens I have here to show you today. So this is the, not Kaweco, this is the Lamy Ideos with an extra fine nib. This pen was provided to me by Applebaum for review, and inside it has a Lamy blue cartridge inside. This is an extra fine nib, it has more feedback, and it has really no line variation, it's just that. Very shiny section, good to have your fingerprints all around. Interesting, the part of the design. This review will be out soon. I just don't think the pen is that pleasant to hold, mostly because there is some play between the parts, but that's not for today's video, it's for the review. The next one is a yellow Lamy Safari that I chose to have another diamine Inkvent calendar ink. So this is the Lamy Safari yellow, also in extra fine, so some feedback, and the black nib also always has more feedback than the other ones, as far as I can understand, and it has diamine Inkvent calendar 2021 number 7 candle light. Not really a line variation, but it is decently wet and it is a nice color. I like it mostly because it is yellow, and we can see it's also running out of ink, almost no ink visible on the ink window. And now L for Italy, Leonardo. Look at this amazing flash of color. This is a beautiful pen, beautiful. Number 6 nib by Leonardo, which was a bock at this time. So this is the Leonardo Furore. So this is Leonardo Ficina Italiana Furore Passion Red. This color is just, this material is just beautiful. The pen is very comfortable. It is an amazing pen with number 6 nib, steel nib, medium, and it has inside diamine Inkvent calendar 2021 number. Where am I? Sorry, I have to see where I'm, because I'm getting a little lost. Number 14 red robin. Very nice nib, not really line variation, but it feels very good on the paper. This red robin will appear again later with a different shade because it is a different pen. The next one is also Leonardo. This is the Momento Zero Grande, which is again piston filler, so the second piston filler of the day. First was the Aurora 88 and now the Leonardo. It has this frosty material, very beautiful. I'll leave links in the description for the reviews if the reviews are available. So this is the Leonardo Officina Italiana, I'll not write that, Momento Zero Pura in Anthracite Grey. This one has a fine steel nib, a little different because it's not made of by Bock, it's made by Jovo. It has an ebonite feed, which is very nice, and the ink it has inside is one of my favorite inks ever that I'm using now a lot, and it is Mont Blanc Racing Green, because I still have a secret stash of this ink in my possession to use now that Montblanc Daniel Defoe is no longer around. However, if you find an ink, I have some diamine inks that may replace almost exactly the Daniel Defoe, but if you find any ink that's equal to that is the same that Daniel Defoe, please let me know, because I know that Montblanc, as I've seen in Instagram, sometimes reuses the same ink, giving it another name and makes another special edition, and I would love to have one more bottle of that ink. This is the interesting Moonman or Majohn Q1 demonstrator eyedropper pen that I converted into a cartridge pen. Yes, because I'm crazy and I prefer cartridges than eyedroppers. So this is the Majohn. Obviamente Majohn means China. Majohn Q1 transparent with, this one has a medium nib, right? Yes, and it has inside Sheaffer script blue. And this Jinhao nib has a little bit of line variation if you press it harder. So it is this interesting pen which cap acts like a magnifier and you can see the tip of your nib. Now let me change again the box of pens, because this means that box number 2 of 4 is empty. Is done. Let's go on. So still lots of way to go. And let's see if I have the space in the phone to record all these. This one is M for Moonman. This one was the older version called Moonman, not Majohn. And it has this interesting crescent shaped breather hole, and it is blue and brown. It looks like a Jinhao Centennial, which looks like the Parker Centennial Duofold. It even has a arrow clip. So this is the Moonman, blue and brown, with a fine steel nib that I showed you, with diamine Inkvent calendar 2021 number 6 winter spices. And this nib will allow for a little line variation. If you press harder, it is wet enough. I think these Moonman nibs were quite good. I don't think they do this kind of crescent shaped nibs anymore. I don't think so as Moonman. The other one is a pen that I would love to have the whole collection, but I will never have the money to have them. It is the Montegrappa Mia. This one is the Montegrappa Mia Cityscape. This is special edition for the store Corsani in Rome, with a fine steel nib. I think it's also running out of ink. Very beautiful nib. And inside it has Leonardo Officina Italiana purple. Yes, it's running out of ink. This is a very stiff nib. It is a Jovo nib, so quite stiff, not line variation, but it works quite well. It has the beautiful logo of Montegrappa and it has this interesting material. I'm lucky to have 2 pens of this collection, but there are so many more. I would love to have the yellow one. Now, let's go to one of my favorite pens ever. This one, the Nettuno 1911 Black Sands, which has a steel nib that had a destroyed plating. I don't know if it was the ink or if it was the plating, but I cannot replace this nib because this is a bock nib. This is one of those bock nibs that don't go well in terms of relating with the finish, but the nib is amazing and I don't want to exchange it. And they don't work with bock anymore. I think they only work now with Duofold, and I prefer bock. So this is the Nettuno 1911 black sands, and let me show you. This is a fine nib. It's quite. Let me show you the kind of line variation. This is a fine. You can see this kind of, which is amazing. And this one has inside the diamine, inkvent, calendar, number 5, harmony. And look, you can have line variation. It is bouncy, it is very nice, it has a little feedback. This nib isn't only perfect because it has that problem. So, just to go back, Moonman, China, also letter M, Montegrappa, Italy, letter N, Nettuno, Italy, and now let's go to letter P and let's go to USA, Parker. This is a Parker 45 with an unusual gold oblique nib. So this is the Parker 45 in black. This pen is not really a special model. It is kind of a Franken pen with a gold oblique nib, and the ink is the diamine, inkvent, calendar, number 21, brandy, snap. And this one will allow for line variation because it is an oblique nib. So it's not the flex, it is just the way the nib is cut or designed. I think I'll need to go a little faster because I will run out of memory here again, I'm afraid. Now, this is another pen, but another Parker, but from England. This is the Parker 105, which I like it a lot. It's very interesting the way it is built. So this is the Parker 105, the Flighter, because this is the all steel version. It's so nice the way it is so well designed. This is an amazing piece of design in my humble opinion, and I'm not an artist to talk about design or a designer. It has a medium nib and it has a very good blue ink, diamine, inkvent, calendar, 2021, number 17, Thunderbolt. Let's see when, and again, this pen allows for some line variation. Very bouncy nib, very well made, even if it is made of steel. I really like this nib. Let's now see how long will I take to get rid of all the diamine, inkvent, calendar inks in the pens. So this is also an English pen made in the UK. This is a Parker Centennial Duofold, but this one has a very fine nib. So this is the Parker Centennial Duofold with a needle point nib. You can't almost see the line. It's very light, but it's very good nib with the same ink, the diamine, inkvent, calendar, and so on. Number 17, Thunderbolt. So see how a very strong blue looks in a very fine nib. This is with no pressure. If you can press it a little and have a little line variation, but not much. This is not to have very big line variation. This is to write in very small letters, or large letters is a very fine line, if that's what you prefer. So Parker Centennial Duofold in black, an older edition, and we'll go to another pen from the UK, the Parker International Duofold in this beautiful blue mosaic color. Duofold logo there, the older one, and this design on the nib. So this is that nib was made of gold. The nib on the Duofold has this nib also is made of gold. You can see there 18K. So this is the Parker International Duofold mosaic blue or blue mosaic with medium nib, and it has inside diamine inkvent calendar number 22 Euletide, and it is a very nice nib, a little bouncy also. We will stay in letter P, but we'll change a little bit because now it's P for Germany, Pelikan. This is a Pelikan M200, a pelican with two little chicks there on the nest. So this is the, let me put this up, this is a Pelikan M200 Anthracite. This is a demonstrator pen, but like a smoked one. Anthracite with a fine steel nib, which is a little broad for a fine, in my opinion, but that's how Pelikan goes. It has diamine inkvent calendar 2021, number 23, Wonderland. This is an interesting ink. I'm not 100% sure for what you'll use this ink. This is a very nice pen. Oops. This is compared with the size of the International Duofold and the Centennial Duofold, so it is much smaller. And the next one is also a Pelikan M200. This one was sent to me by Appleboom for review. This one has glitter, and this is called the Pelikan M200 Golden Beryl, which was the special color for last year. And it has glitter on it, and it has a very glitter ink inside, and you can see pieces of glitter there on the feed. But it's still keeping up well. So this is the Pelikan M200 Golden Beryl. It has a steel nib, a little different from the other one because this one has only one cheek, the other one had two. It is a different model of different age of nib. This one is a medium steel nib, and the ink is Pelikan Edelstein Golden Beryl, and it is an interesting pen. You don't have really a lot of line variation, but it writes well. This ink is really amazing regarding the shimmering. Maybe I can show it to you. It's really amazing, this ink, but okay, still hasn't clogged the feed of the pen. Let's go for another letter P for Pilot in Japan. The first one is a Pilot Costume 67, older model, not available anymore. This is Pilot Costume 67 in black with a medium gold nib, number 5, the number of the system, of the numbering system of Pilot, which is different of the international one. This is number 5, and it has inside the Graf von Faber-Castell Hazelnut Brown. This is a nice ink that I have in several pilot cartridges because I'm able to open them and then reseal them, and I did it several times. I made a video about that, and I have several filled and resealed pilot ink cartridges with this ink. So we are again on cartridge pens only. Now these two, the two Pelikans, were piston fillers. This is another pen which is very similar. It is basically the same with little updates from the 67, also number 5 nib, and this is the Pilot Costume 74 in forest green, opposite to that one which is a solid black. This one is a kind of translucent green, also with a medium nib, and it has ink vent, but not last year. Calendar, so from Diamine, I didn't write Diamine, from 2019, and this one is called Mistletoe. I don't remember the day. And again, we have a slightly bouncy nib. You can have a little line variation. It is a beautiful pen, in my opinion, with a beautiful nib. The next pen is a pen that looks like the same, but it is not. It is larger and has a larger nib. And which pen is that? It's written somewhere in the cap. Costume 743. This was my self-birthday gift. So this is the Pilot Costume 743 in black with a gold fine nib, and this one is a number 15 nib, so a bigger one, and the ink it has inside, yes, is vintage Parker Quink black. It was fun because I first inked this pen with Mont Blanc Racing Green, which that discontinued ink that I love, but it didn't work that well with that ink, that I never had problems with, I don't know why, but this pen didn't like that ink. I changed it for Parker Quink Black and now it works perfectly. Another P for Pilot for Lucina. This is an interesting model, steel nib, but interesting one. Also a cartridge converter pen, and this is the Pilot Lucina. This was the first Pilot pen I ever had in red with a fine steel nib, not gold like the previous ones, and it has inside Diamine ink vent, calendar number 14 from 2021, number 14 red Robin. This one has not line variation, has the previous one. I think that may be some difference they make for the steel nibs to the gold nibs. You don't have line variation in this pen. The next one is this. A Pilot Mia, which is a very, how can I say, it is an iconic model. I really like it. It has this integrated nib, which is kind of a copy of the design of the Parker T1, but an interesting pen because they made it instead of titanium, they made it in steel and in a pocket pen version. So this is the Pilot Mia with a fine, obviously steel nib and section, and the ink it has, you guessed it, it's the same Parker Quink Black. That, although it is a fine, it's a a thinner line than the fine of the costume 743. Also, no line variation can be had with this interesting, small, iconic, wonderful pen. And now let's go for another small pen, also from Pilot, and it's so small that it's called even Petit. But it is a nice one. See, it works well, and it is very inexpensive. This is the Pilot Petit 1 with, let me show you, this kind of steel nib in fine, a fine steel nib, and the ink it has inside is some Pilot blue cartridge. No line variation, anything, but the pen writes well, and it is small, easy to take with you, really small pen. And now let me change the box of pens and to go to the final one. Okay, here we are, and the first pen of this new box is also a Pilot. It is a Pilot Silver, made of silver. I think it's getting a bit duller. It has lots of micro scratches, but I know that would happen. And it has the engraving of a carp, of a koi fish, going upstream with Pilot ball clip and this amazing, beautiful, large gold nib, inlaid gold nib. Also a cartridge pen. All these Pilots are cartridge pens, and the 743 is actually like the 823 pen, but cartridge instead of vacuum filler. So this is the Pilot Silver. It's also running a little out of ink, so the ink flow is not very consistent now. With this is the, sorry, it's called Carp. It has a medium gold nib, and inside it has that awful ink name, Kyo no Oto, not this part, the other one, Oshiguriru, I'm not sure if it's said like that, number 10. And this nib allows for some line variation, although I don't advise you to force a little too much inlaid nib, because the way it is made it can go further from the feed and then it will start skipping. So be aware of that and don't destroy your pen. Next one is this interesting black pen that I have inked for a long time. I really enjoy this one. It is a rotring pen. There's the red ring. So this is that's the name. This is the Rotring 600. I didn't make the review of this pen yet. I need to do it because it is interesting. It has a little problem there. Cracked barrel, metal barrel. So fun stuff to talk about. This one has a medium nib. So Rotring 600 in black with a medium steel nib, and inside it has Mont Blanc William Shakespeare. I like this ink because it's a very stiff nib, so no line variation. So I like this ink because this is a, I didn't say that, Rotring are from Germany, Rotring. I like it, and it is a dark red, and I'm using it, and it's not that I'm trying to finish my bottle of William Shakespeare, because I really enjoy that, but I don't think there is also a point of having this ink forever and trying to save it. So when I want to put red ink on a pen, I'm going for this one. So I'll be using it. I think it will be my first red ink to finish now, but I'm not really worried about that. The next letter is S, and S means Japan Sailor. This is the Sailor 1911 large with this beautiful 21 karat gold nib. Also cartridge converter pen. This is the Sailor. This pen is amazing to write with. It's amazing, really. 1911. It has lots of feedback, but so pleasant. Black with gold trim. Where am I? And it has a hard medium. Although it's hard, it will have some line variation, as you can see there. And inside it has a very lovely ink, Sailor Gentle Southern. This is one of the turquoise inks that I have to next to me to use. So when I have to choose turquoise ink, I'm going mostly for this Sailor, for Waterman and for Sheaffer. So they are the first bottles that will be also finished on that color, on those colors. And this is again a Sailor, the amazing, also 21 karat gold. Let me go back and get the 1911 large. And this is the King of Pen. So King of Pen is bigger with a bigger nib. Let me cap this one. This is a very expensive pen. I got it at half price, so I'm happy, but full price would be too much. This is Sailor 1911. No, I think we can call it 1911. It doesn't get, because 1911 is kind of this profit shape. Never mind. King of Pen, the dark champagne color with a medium nib, which is it is bouncy, it's not flexy. It will not flex if you don't put more pressure, but if you put a little pressure, it is amazing. It's amazing to write with. And it has inside one of my favorite inks ever that I showed you before here, Mont Blanc Racing Green. This is the look, amazing, and the shade of this ink is just beautiful. I love this. So this muddy green ink is one of my favorite inks. This is very expensive now. It has been discontinued for some years, but I got maybe 10 bottles of it at the time. So I like it a lot. And this is the ink that didn't like the Pilot, or the Pilot Costume 743 didn't like this ink, but this Sailor loves it. So sometimes this happens. Sometimes some inks love some pens and vice versa, and sometimes they don't. Again, S again for Japan, another Sailor, but this time a pocket pen, so the same kind of concept. A little Sailor gold nib, 14K gold nib by Sailor. So this is this on focus? This is a Sailor pocket pen. I don't really know the name of this specific pocket pen, with a fine gold nib, and inside it has my classical Parker Quink Black. As I told you, some of these pens come with ink from one month to the other. I don't clean them all at the end of the month and then put all the same ink or something like that. It's how it happens. And some will get out of ink very soon, and some I will ink again, some I will not. I'm now, for example, one of the pens that I'm enjoying the most to use is the Parker Massima Duofold in burgundy that I have, the UK version. But it was empty. I cleaned it because I got the pen and never cleaned it when I got it. I just filled it and started using it. Now I cleaned it completely, and it's out of ink. I'm trying now on this time, as in some other months when I have lots of inks, that's what happened with this diamine Inkvent calendar stuff, is to try to ink at the most one pen for each 2 pens that get empty. So I can slowly reduce the number of pens, although I keep some diversity and keep changing some pens that are in use. So the next pen is an S from Italy, and it is the beautiful Santini Libra Olive. So this is the Santini Libra Olive with a fine rigid nib, not the flexi nib they have. 18 karat gold nib. This is white gold. It's still a little bit goldish, but it is white gold. And it has one ink that works greatly with this pen, which is KWZ Oscar, special edition of KWZ ink for the Dutch store Fontoplumo. The next S is S for United States, and we are talking about Sheaffer. I also reviewed this pen recently. This is the Sheaffer Balance 2 in Crimson Glow. Beautiful color, beautiful nib, beautiful pen. So this is and vintage, the shape and the design. Not this pen is not really vintage, from I think 1998. This is the Sheaffer Balance 2 in Crimson Glow with a fine gold nib. Yes, it is kind of a fat fine, but it is a fine, and it has diamine Inkvent calendar 2021. It's now skipping number 22, Black Ivy. So it is quite wet, but don't blame this pen. Sometimes skips a little bit, but it is skipping a little bit more, so I guess it may be running out of ink also, as some other pens. So don't blame on the ink this time, on the pen, but blame it on the amount of ink it has inside. This is a Sheaffer pen also. This is the Sheaffer Legacy. This is an amazing pen, which is a cartridge converter pen, or it can be touchdown filler. Beautiful. Gold nib, these diamond-shaped inlaid nibs. So this is the Sheaffer Legacy. This is Legacy 1, but it's not called Legacy 1 because it was the first. This is the black and gold with a fine gold nib and diamine Inkvent calendar number 24, Yuletide again. I love this pen, and I also love the other one that I got recently, although it has a wider nib. This is a Sheaffer Legacy 2, which has a difference because this has rounding ends and the other one has squared ends, but it is mostly the same pen. And this is the Sheaffer. This sounds much smoother because it is a wider nib. Sheaffer Legacy, and this is called Sheaffer Legacy 2, and this is linear matte black. This is linear or linear, I don't know how you say that, because it has these lines engraved on the barrel. I think this pen is really beautiful, and it has inside Sheaffer script turquoise, which is an ink that works really well with this pen. And now we still have 4 pens to go, and at this time, just for you to know, it's now 10 to 11 p.m. I usually post my videos at midnight and 1/4, so midnight 15, so I will not have the time to download the file to the computer, do everything, edit, upload it, do the description. So I tried to put this video on Friday, so there will be, I think there will be no video on Friday, and I hope you'll be seeing this on Saturday. But I'm going to the countryside on Saturday, so let's see if I have the time to do it until midnight to post it. Okay, we will see. Let's not stress about that. This is a Sheaffer. This is a model that I really like, in a color that I like a lot. And what is this? This is the Sheaffer No Nonsense. It is kind of a vintage inspired flat top pen, very simple, but I love the concept. Sheaffer No Nonsense in yellow with a medium steel nib. It's a little feedback, almost scratchy, and this one has diamine, macassar, which is a very dark brown. I would say it is a brownish black, it's more like that. The next pen, also a Sheaffer made of metal, and I really enjoy this one. It's getting a little old. I bought it in second hand. It doesn't stay very... It stays securely, but it moves a little bit. But this pen is really a very good one. I will need to make a video about this because I think this is an interesting one to talk about. But I have so many videos to make and so little time to do them. So this is the Sheaffer Triumph Imperial 444 with a fine steel nib. This one has the same kind of nib but made of steel. This is from the USA, and inside it has the diamine Inkvent calendar 2021 number 11 Festive Joy. This pen has no line variation, but it just writes. I need to make some videos about it, and this will be comparable with one of my favorite pens, and I'll wait for that video. I'll do it someday. The next pen is this, and what is this? This is the Tibaldi. Beautiful pen, beautiful resin, this spaghetti resin as they call it. It is amazing. This is the Martini, the color, so this is the, let me write it. This is the Tibaldi Bononia Martini Olive. This one has a fine steel nib, and again this one has inside the Montblanc Racing Green. This Tibaldi pen is very nice. It has a fine steel nib with the eagle of the brand engraved there. Ebonite feed, beautiful material. I really enjoy this pen. But this one has also the Montblanc Racing Green ink inside, and this is another ink that I find, this is another pen that I find doesn't go that well with this ink. The nib seems to be a little bit too feedbacky with this ink. Maybe it's not lubricated enough for it, but that's something that sometimes happens. Even good inks work well in some pens and not so much in others, so that's part of the fun, to find the perfect combo, and sometimes I can get it perfectly. For example, this pen, this Centennial, I started using it with Roller and Cleaner Alt Gold Grün, which is a beautiful color, but it didn't work well with this pen. It sounds scratchy and pleasant. I changed it for KWZ, and I don't want to use another ink on that pen because it just works. Final letter is, so Tibaldi is T for Italy, and this is Waterman from, you can see there, from the United States. No, this one is not from the United States, from France, sorry, with this kind of ugly clip, but then the material is beautiful. Marbled green, this is a Waterman Reflex, and it is Waterman France, and it is a pen that just works. So, Waterman Reflex marbled green with a fine steel nib, and the ink it has inside is Visconti green. No line variation, anything, but writes well. I have to say that maybe I may not have the same exact opinion right now, but I would say some of the low-end pens from Parker and Waterman from the 1990s, from 1970s to 1990s or to 2000s were some very nice pens. Inexpensive, but they worked well. So, this is all for today. I have to thank you so much for watching this very long video with 60 pens. I hope next month we'll go around 50, I hope, or even less. I hope you have a great rest of the weekend if I'm able to post these still during the weekend. So, this is all I had to show you. I hope you enjoyed. Sorry for the long video, and I hope to meet you here again for the next video soon. So, bye.